Isn't the return of Jovi Espinido the proof of concept of what the President said, na wag kayo mag-alala because as long as you do it in the name of a war on drugs, wala sa inyong makukulong?
Well, that is a leadership perspective. We give it to the President. Maybe the Chief PNP would also see to it that any police officer, in the performance of his duties, and in light of the procedures that he has to follow, given the problem that he has to face, must be, of course, be given the kind of protection by the management itself. But then it boils down again to the issue of when you are facing a case, you really have to defend yourself by yourself, and seeing to it that if you indeed have performed your duties according to the rule of law, then there is nothing to be worried about. So that, I guess, is something that the President has been doing his level best to see to it that any police officer getting involved in operations legitimately and all that, and then as a result, shootouts happen, and then there would be cases filed against the police officers. I think at the least, the police officers need to be protected as well. They too have their own human rights.
But if I may just add to that, I think also, having said that, I think also the police have a duty and a responsibility to really be more cooperative to investigating bodies outside of the PNP, the CHR, for instance. In police operations in Metro Manila and in many other urban cities, the police often refuse to provide journalists copies of the spot reports. I mean, it doesn't make sense to us. So again, the transparency that the PNP should be upholding is not actually there. So we, even in terms of the figures that are being put out by the PNP, the PNP expects the public, the journalists, the media, and the public to just take the PNP's word for it. And so that to the point na ngayon, hindi na pinag-uusapan yung mga thousands and thousands of killings na ang assailant ay unidentified people.
For the past half an hour, we've been talking about, we've been using the figure 5,000. That's, I think, based on the PNP's official number, around 4,800 plus who were killed in legitimate
4,999.
well, it's not 4,999. But I think Human Rights Watch has its own numbers. I'd like to ask you about your numbers, where you got your numbers, and do you see any trends in the last 2 years? You've seen the evolution of Tokhang and double barrel. Sometimes it wanes, sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down. What have you been seeing as far as your numbers are concerned?
Our numbers are actually quite conservative compared to the others. Because Senator Trillanes is claiming like 30,000. Other groups are claiming 20,000. Our 12,000 estimate, this was in January 2018. I don't think we're updating that now because we just don't have a good enough figure or a source for any of this figure. That's why we are relying, not relying, but we are using the PNP's own figures because of the 5,000. Because in our view, kahit yan lang, 5,000 people, that's a lot of dead bodies again that needs to be investigated. Killings that need to be investigated. But
you're saying it's not the number, it's the increase.
It's the increase. I'm saying that there's no reliable data on how many numbers are actually there. We're sticking to the Human Rights Watch is sticking with 12,000 because that was based on the initial monitoring by media groups, by human rights groups, and even by the PNP itself. What changed since then is that the PNP embarked on this campaign, or I don't know, campaign or this strategy to sort of change the figures. So totally now, keep in mind, dati meron homicide under investigation, deaths under investigation.
DUIs.
That's why there are so many. Now we agree that some of those deaths may be legitimate operations or that may have been committed by crime syndicates, but also our own investigation and even by Amnesty International and even by Reuters and all the others, a lot of these killings by unidentified people were also these people are also with the police or state agents. And it is consistent with our past research about operations of the death squads, for instance. Many of those are actually, death squad members are actually either police officers, off-duty police officers, or directly employed by City Hall. So, it's really is quite disappointing that binaliwala na lang itong mga thousands and thousands of killings outside of the 5,000.
But
So-
your numbers are double, more than double the numbers of the PNP. How do we reconcile these two numbers?
Because many of them are assailants are unidentified. The PNPs are only during legitimate drug operations. So may disparity talaga sa numbers yan. And we're not even saying that it is incorrect to say na many of these deaths are committed by drug syndicates because, for all we know, talaga namang meron. But there's the problem there. We don't know.